Good morning, everybody. It is March 12th, Thursday, and I'm just getting going here on today's Lenten devotional. And I'm going to just be honest that I've given a little bit of thought to continuing whether or not I should continue our Lenten devotional series of an obituary a day. Given kind of everything that's going on around the globe with the coronavirus and the fears that for myself and my family, and I'm sure for some of you, kind of kicks into gear around issues of mortality and also the reality of our interconnectedness as a species in this habitat we call Earth. So after giving some thought to it, and being honest about my discomfort in this context with reading obituaries, I think that it's pushing me pushing me towards the edge of my discomfort, so that we might grow together. Realizing that there is a gift in our mortality, that's kind of why we enter into communities of faith, is because we all at different times, either together or individually, approach the edge of our comfort zone with what it means to approach death and see death around us, and that we hold hands, spiritually or physically, depending on the context, in times like these. And so as a community, I just invite us to draw closer together in ways that support one another, whether that looks like reading an obituary or sharing a roll of toilet paper. There are needs that are around us, and those cry out to be a call for each of us to show up for one another. So today, I continue to read the obituaries, and I enter into this obituary reading with a personal attachment, because today's obituary reading is of my uncle David, who passed away quite recently, and whose service is still scheduled to be held. So today I introduce you to my uncle David Robert Darling of Brookfield, Connecticut, who passed away on October 2nd, 2019 at Danbury Hospital in Danbury, Connecticut. David was born on December 3rd, 1943 in Norwich, Vermont, to Donald and Nettie Darling. David and his two sisters, Ruth Darling and Jean Arthur, both currently residing in Palm Desert, California, grew up on their parents' dairy farm in Bradford, Vermont, along the beautiful Connecticut River. David attended Bradford Academy and went on to graduate from the University of Vermont in Burlington, Vermont, with a double major in math and physics. That did not get genetically passed down to me. He did graduate studies at SUNY Binghamton in New York State. I also went to SUNY Binghamton for a while. For a year after graduation, he worked in computer systems at New York State Electric and Gas in Poughkeepsie, New York. He was drafted into the U.S. Army in 1966 and became an artillery officer. After being released from active duty, he remained in the U.S. Army Reserves for 13 years while working for IBM. His job at IBM required a great deal of traveling in other countries, especially Europe, including Sweden, Greece, and Scotland. He also worked for over a year in Japan. David was Program Director of Applications, Architecture, and Standards. David enjoyed traveling, camping, vacationing with his family, and his annual visit with his sisters. He was an avid reader and enjoyed his computer. David is survived by his wife of 52 years, my aunt, Celestial. He is also survived by his three children, my cousins, Daniel Robert Darling of Danbury, Connecticut, his daughter, Julie Elizabeth Edwards of Brookfield, Connecticut, and his daughter Melanie Jean Scholl, and her husband, Lieutenant Colonel Robert E. Scholl, and their two children, Catherine Elizabeth Scholl and Robert Matthew Scholl, David's grandchildren. He is also survived by his sisters Ruth and Jean, and many nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews. A memorial service will be held in late spring at Prince of Peace Lutheran Church. David, loving husband, father, and grandfather, will always be remembered as he rests in peace with God. And my aunt just gave me permission to share that David was my uncle. Aunt Punky, as we called his wife, my mother's sister, was an important part of my childhood and growing up, and definitely spoiled me beyond all comprehension, which is such a wonderful feeling as a child to be loved so much that your just attention is poured out upon you. I pray that today we might all have that experience of being spoiled with love, generosity, and grace, whether that is through our spiritual relationship with God or in the community of love that we find ourselves placed in. May you be well, may you be free from fear, and may you feel the arms of a community wrapping around you. May you be blessed. I'll see you tomorrow.